weekly. Good. All right. Well, let's take a look, right? So this is your weekly profile today. I would say it was pretty clear, once they lost this, even though it's developing value, right? But that's telling you as of today, they're rejecting any values here higher, right? We did have some access. We'll get to it here shortly. But on the weekly, as profiles here on volume, you're seeing, it's pretty clear, right? You popped higher, you had a nice little hammer on 3 hours here, and then of course you dumped here. Low right now, you're basically at the value area low. This is the value area low, and I did take a long here on 2 MES and just see if it rides or if it's going to die down. This is your weekly profile is just Wednesday tomorrow. So let's take a look what's kind of transpiring here on the weekly on TPO, so you guys can see the difference or spot ending. Just 10. All right. So what's happening here today? So you guys were, I would say, here. So this was obviously the gap right here. So we came very close to it, right? And if you guys look at this value area low of prior week, right, it's sitting right there at 278. So we tried to get in, did not like it. And then if you look here, I mean, I would say let's go on 1 hour because you guys can relate more to it. What is this telling you here? Let me go 65 minutes because that would be, is this a bullish, bearish profile? What is it? Let's take a look now. Try and squeeze it so you guys can see.
Looks like there's more selling on the top.
Okay. All right. So now pay attention to the two profiles here, right? This week and last week. What did market try to do? Well, market tried to trade inside this range here of last week's, right? This would be the LVN of last week. Do you guys agree? I'm sorry, HVN of last week is just a distribution here. You guys see that? We went in there and we got rejected, right? Then we lost this POC. If you guys remember, we talked about it today. They lost that and we said 49.75 and they went even below that. So as of right now, they're not able to get in and hold it, right? I would say losing this level right here, which is developing value area low 4992, is pretty important, or either regain or lose, right? Depending on where we open tomorrow. I think we're way below it now. Yeah, not way below, but if we open inside of it, right, and we hold it, or if we open outside of it and then regain this level, guys, do not be short. Okay, so that's going to be a big level, and most likely, this will be about 51.38, 51.50, and potentially all the way up here at 78. I'll be very, very careful if they open outside and get in for a rocket to the upside, because this could be a bracket now, right? While the market's awaiting information, they could be trading in here, right? That makes sense. So this could be the new bracket that we are creating, lower prices, just like we did here. We can do that again, right? And then we could go lower. So I'm not saying that's 100% possibility, because I do see more price opportunities to go lower. So far, following on a weekly?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And on the bottom here, right, on the bottom of the weekly, I would mark this right here, right, that you guys have the weekly dev. I would leave that there, right? It's going to be a pretty big level. They can reclaim this. They could potentially go to 49.90, and this is a really, really key level. Okay, and then this prior week low, I would certainly mark, just because this happens to be developing POC as well. And it's halfback, so it probably won't be halfback tomorrow, but it's definitely halfback now. So as of right now, we're kind of outside of the value on the weekly, right? If we can regain this, please don't be short, and it's going to be punishing to the shorts if they're to do that. Okay, so let's switch this to the daily. Let's see what actually happened. Closer picture. All right, was anyone short today around here when I said 99 short?
I was.
Okay, does everybody understand why we were looking for short?
Yeah,
Top
you
of bracket.
explained it.
It was top of the bracket, and then I mentioned also that there was a lot of trapped buyers in the morning at that level on the footprint. It was pretty clear, that they were trapped a little bit on the long side. And then a seller came. Don't quote me on the level. I think it was I think it was 80 something, 87, and then the next level in between that was 72. When we lost the 72, that was pretty much it for the market at that point. It was more facing pressure to sell than was looking to buy, and there was no liquidity. So, and there was no liquidity because you had what? This was almost a gift for big boys from somebody, right? Hey, why don't we open gap massively here, right? If you gap this much, 3%, then we'll look to sell, right? And that's kind of what transpired, right? They pushed it up. There's a lot of selling at the top, trapped buyers, and that's where I took the short, right? And we did target some levels below, but ultimately on 52.46, that thing that was 52.41 and a quarter was our 2024 USC. It was somewhere here. First target from the short, right? And then they reached that, and then below it was just opening more. But you gapped over these single prints. And when you do that, that means there was a seller here, right? And then if you think about it, this seller last time, look where he stopped the price auction. You guys see it now? Stop
Yeah, it
the
was almost
price
like a
auction.
perfect retest.
Yeah, you stop the price auction here, and now you're coming back to it. Well, if he's there, able to push past this open, let's say candle, high chance that you're just take it back down, right? And considering we're in massive binary news every day, but we're getting tariffs, no tariffs on this, right? And at one point, market is just going to ignore it. But we'll see how long does that take. Today's profile, I would say, looks pretty bad in terms of structure, right? So if you guys look at this, right, have a spike, right, and sure you guys see it. Was there anything here telling you that it could be more down pressure coming? Better view, I'll do 7.
Coming down on the D period.
Down in D period was correct. Was there anything else that you guys noticed? Is this a poor low between A and C, okay, between these candles?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Did anyone catch that today? I think I wrote that out. I was live here. Yeah, I was definitely live here. I did mention there's a poor low in between, and then of course, like I told you guys in the class, if you take this candle 50%,
I think that's when it moved like so fast.
yeah, that's able to push that, and then you cleaned up the poor low, and then you're struggling the day off of that POC, right? You guys go on smaller time frames, you'll see it. They really tried to hold this right here, and ultimately it did not work out, right? So you see a couple of 30-minute candles, they're making lower highs but equal lows. So what is that telling you? I'm not able to find buyers higher. I'm getting basically bid at the same price when I come. I'm not finding any buyers higher. Everybody's buying at $10, $8, $6, but nobody's bidding higher here. Everybody's keeping the same bid. What is that telling you about the confidence and demand?
I wasn't there.
Okay, so think about a product, right? iPhone is at $10, right? Somebody, let's say we go, we are going at what is this? Let's say at $3, and somebody's at 10, and they're like, hey, 10 and a half, and nobody's there. They're like, how about 10? Nobody's there. And then they're like $8, and somebody buys it. And then they keep going all the way to the bottom. They drop the price, let's say a little bit by 206, no bids. They come to, let's say, $2, and somebody buys the iPhone. Then they try to increase the price, right? Maximize the profits. They go 4, 6, 8, and they're like, okay, we got to buy 8, and somebody 8.25, and they're like, nope. Then they go back again, and this time instead of the $2, nobody was willing to buy iPhone at $2, $1, and they're like, okay, quarter, and people are like, okay, we'll buy it, and they tried to bring it back higher previously where the floor was, and they struggled. And I mean, I would say it was a pretty clear shift, right, in the auction from here on out, right? They just kept going the levels. Then another balance trying to build, and you can see where they built it, right? Initially, the day prior, they also tried to hold it here, and that was kind of the POC here. And then they basically shifted down, and then you have something called spike, and it was pretty high probability for a spike. I think everybody was on the same page in the Discord. When the K period, got cracked, with the L period, what does that tell you about the possibility of a spike?
A high chance.
You guys calculated it, right? Didn't you guys calculate the odds? Free, what were the odds? He's like, I don't remember.
It was 60%, right?
It was 66% when the L period broke, right? The previous low period, it was 66% based on the last 3 months that you guys calculated. Everybody remember this, or?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
No, I don't remember that.
Okay.
Yep, 66.
Yeah, it was 66, right? So,
Yep.
I can't. All right, so the spike should help you guys, right? And I'm not gonna, I have my other levels here below, the 2024 value area, the 3-year SIG. There's a little bit of LVN in this area, right? And then I don't have below that right now, but we can take a look at it. But I pretty much know these by heart now. Okay, so for tomorrow, what you want to pay attention to, right, is these emotional sellers that joined us towards the end. If by some chance we are able to kind of, let's say, crack this right here, this level, 92 to 90, and kind of clear this, that would mean that we are rejecting that late spike, right? And if you guys look at the prior action, let me hide this for a moment. If you guys look at the prior candle, right, this was all access on the prior candle, right? And now we basically close where the other candle opened right now, and I keep forgetting where we are ultimately. Are we above 40 right now? Should be, but
Yeah, 48.
okay. So they're holding this access here, and you can see, right? I mean, that was a nice completed auction. That was basically the stop. So they did eat up some of the single prints here, but I'll probably mark this Monday low as well, right? Just so you have a reference point. Because they will, if they lose this level tomorrow, most likely they're going to clean up this 86 here, or 66 and a half. I would probably anticipate that to be very quick too. And above these single prints, right, you guys will have a little bit, you had 3 TPOs, therefore you have to mark these, right? These are just going to be single prints in the middle of the chart. So what does that tell you?
Double distribution.
Double distribution.
Potentially could be triple.
Yeah, this one looks like
This
triple
is
to me.
one, and then you have 2, and then you have a long one, 3, right? So there's a lot of poor structures in between. You know, if the bulls really want to change some behavior, right? They have to start fixing these probably tomorrow, then, depending on how the news goes. But the one thing is for sure lately. And what is that one thing in terms of trading volume profile? Have you guys noticed it?
Starting to slow down on the downside.
There's some slowdown on that, right? I mean, if you look at this right here, you look at the value area low, value area of this one's pretty high, overlapping, right? You went to the opposite side, and then you see the value area low shifted a little bit higher. That's true. But what about trading like extreme levels versus in between levels, like peak above and fails? You guys think that was pretty successful lately? Have you guys checked?
Extremely.
It has been.
Guys, it's actually pretty good. And, you know, whether we like it or not here, you're in a 3-day balance, right? So if, for instance, they reclaim this 58, let's say to 64 zone, you could probably, you know, cause a little bit of a run, right? You get to the prior week low, dev, you know, weekly POC. Sure, you might get a nice low rejection, but ultimately, I would say this is your level, 511.25. So this would be your 3-day POC. This is where they're basically agreeing on price of S&P 500 right now. Okay, so I would just mark this, and I'm not trying to put a lot of levels, but for me, ultimately, the spike base will play a big role. If they can open above this or reject it, great. If you reclaim this level or zone right here, what does that tell you? I just want to see if you guys are following along while I add these.
Well, you're gonna go up to that next node.
Does anyone think if we recover this that we could potentially just lie somewhere around 52.15, like 115 points? Like to this zone right here, or like somewhere around 52.46, and ultimately even the highs, right? But your value area high is sitting at 52.60. You guys think that
Yeah,
would
it's
be
possible.
potentially easy to happen?
Seems like since the last few days, it is possible because it's running a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is not that bad. I think if we can do that, right? If they reclaim this level, let's say, if they reclaim this level, you have to be really careful on a short side. What you could see happen tomorrow, and I'm just giving you a scenario, and you have to be aware how to play it. Let's say we open here, go somewhere here. They could definitely run this, guys. This would be, again, 100 points. If they go inside here and you see the slowdown and then they do this, it might not be a bad short. What that would mean is what? That they're not finding value here, that they're not finding buyers to take it higher. And if that's the case, there's probably a lot more risk that we're going to be testing the new lows and break this PDL here. Does that make sense? Because if you can't find value here, this was not value, this was just excess. Now, if this selling supply here is strong, they should put in a new lower low, basically break the PDL. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other option is, let's say, whatever happens, if as long as they're above the spike and they come here and they're holding, then ultimately you're watching for something like this. This is the 2 plays that you should watch for recovery. Okay. What about the downside? What's one scenario? If you're inside the spike now, let's say you open here and you do this. well, I mean, then you're watching potentially something like this. And I would say this would be 1.
Shorty, there's your 50 points.
Where we just ran?
Yep.
Oh my God. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, it spiked.
Yes, we are pumping.
Do you guys know why I said that? I'll reward somebody if you got it. Why did I go long?
Stop candle.
Stop candle is 1. Give me 1 more. What he means by stop candle is this candle right here. This candle here, it picked up volume, and there's 1 more piece. Look where we rejected. Isn't that so weird that like we just
You entered the value area, right? We
it's just hit the
reclaimed it.
spike base to a penny. Watch this level right here. Come on, a little bit lower. But what's another reason why I went long? Ooh, look what they just hit. Funny, right?
4993.
They just bounced off of this 477 and
Yeah.
4970.5. Today's value area high.
Now 100 points move equals to prior day's 15 points move.
Well, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Anyone else see why I went? Why did I go long tonight?
Was it a reclaim of the value area low?
Okay, so when I was trading, I was basically on this, and then I turned on the TPOs for a quick confirmation. Let me just, you guys always have to pay attention to what we're doing, right? And what is market telling you so far? What happened on the first time we went below the value?
Snatch back up.
Back up.
Okay, so they smashed back up, and also just always keep in mind what did market try to do, right? They tried to consolidate right here, and the market went up. This is called a test, right? We are testing to see, do we have enough? And what happened? They said, yeah, we got enough. Yeah, we'll take it. Okay, well, they brought it back up, then they really ran it up, and then they met something here as well. They met somebody that was selling previously on a peak above the value, right? Peak above. This guy was eager. He's like, okay, well, let me sell it. He sold it, but he had a lot to sell. Obviously, look at the candle as well in 5 minutes. That's a high pressure candle. Look at the volume. So what is this, Tom? If this was stopping volume, what is this one? Tom left us. Huh?
Unfinished business?
No, this is also a stopping volume candle because we were trying to auction up and we went above this value that we created on the bottom, and they pushed it back up with a lot of volume. A lot of volume relative to other candles. For instance, this big green in this candle, pay attention to the volume. You're talking, is that the same type of volume and same body of the candle? We're talking about the body. So this right here, candle is 14 points.
Oh, sorry. My
And
thing
this-
froze here, so it's a stopping candle too.
Yeah, it's a stopping candle. Look at the volume. And you see here, this candle has a pretty wide body, right? It should be tons of volume too. Because that means you're buying. Somebody was bullish, just like this one here, right? Another trick you play on these times, just FYI, is find the 50% here. They need to, or take the whole candle, I'm sorry, in this case. 50%, if we don't close below this 50% now, there's a setup for this in Japanese candlesticks. Does anyone know what this is? I posted it for you guys many times.
Is that a tweezer top?
No, it's 50%. Tweezer top goes all the way to the bottom. I even wrote up and gave you scenarios on that.
Engulfing.
Mm.
Don't know.
I was thinking Harami, but that's not it.
There, I'll post it in the
Oh,
chat.
is it a
And
bullish Harami?
bullish Rami, that means there's a candle inside of it, right?
Okay.
Just posted something in chat. You guys remember the dark cloud candle? Anyone?
Is it like a money shot?
No, it's called dark cloud candle.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I posted it in the chat
I'm
for
not
you guys.
sure. I saw it.
Yeah, you guys can search probably better than I can, but there's another diagram that I posted for the dark cloud candle. So typically you want the candle to open higher than the previous candle, right? And if it closes below the 50%, like this one here closed above it, right? If it closes above it, right, the 50%, most likely the trend down is going to fail on that candle. It actually works pretty well. This is just in addition to everything else you do in volume profile. It's not bad to recognize these. And you guys will see this if you just kind of keep an eye out, hey, where's any dark cloud candles at the top or bottoms? Pretty sure you'll find some. Just looking to see right now. This
There
one
was
was
one just below.
very obvious. Trying to find. This one's
Oh, right at the single prints.
prints. This one did not open higher. Opening higher. This one opened a little higher, but this one definitely closed, right? This one right here, that's dark cloud, and it closed lower than the previous candle, 50% of it. There's an indicator you guys can find for it, but watch this level right now here. This is the next bounce level. Right here. But this is pretty important for you guys to recognize. It doesn't mean it's I wouldn't take a trade off of that alone, right? It's just something that's additional information that you gain from the market itself. So there should be some single prints, guys, on this candle. Well, I don't know. No. Wish this didn't happen. So there's a POCs in this area. There's a little bit of ledge right now at 57. I'm still long though. I'll leave it. See, I think we can go all the way up to here tonight. Does that explain a little bit about the stopping volume? Why did I go along here? Or you guys lost? So stopping volume, you went 2 times below the value, and every time you went, you stopped the auction, you went higher, then you really dipped below value, and this candle tells you, a pretty critical concept that we talked about. What is that concept?
Wyckoff theory.
Sure, that's Wyckoff's called the spring, but what about on market profile class? What do we talk about? What do short-term traders look for?
Excessive.
They look what?
Excessive low.
Well, they can look for it, but when they're looking for fair value, right? They're looking for two-sided activity in the market, right? Where it's fair value, where they can, buy the bottoms, sell the tops. But sometimes the price goes below the value or above the value, and who jumps in?
Responsive traders.
Responsive or otherwise known other time frame participants, right? So now you're telling me here, right? That you brought it below the value, and when I was trying to go in, this candle closed, and then it printed, pretty good access here, right? So that's why I said, well, I'll take this long. I won't have to risk a whole lot, and the upside would be that you can at least run it, right? probably to the top somewhere here, the 50 points that we were talking about. And now, you probably get a little bit more than that. But it's just reading what the market's giving you at that time, not any, lines, indicators, whatever you want to call it, but what the market's telling you, relatable to the price action that was to the left. Is everybody confused, following?
Makes sense.
If you're new and you're not following, I mean, this is your opportunity to ask questions, right?
I guess my question will be, why would you long after like you seeing a big rejection candle, the up stopping candle? Like that generally scares me out. Like I wouldn't take the other side of trade.
Yeah, but I'll jump in. I mean, this guy is trading it off of POC here. He literally took that off of POC. And he was playing probably with size to the bottom. So he was in and out. Okay, here's that.
Can anyone else hear him right now?
Shorty, we can't hear you. You're cutting off
Shorty,
again.
I think you're cutting off big time. Like the whole explanation was cut off.
All right, what about now?
That's better now.
Yeah, I keep unplugging my mic, so I apologize. So the axis on the bottom was pretty important and telling. The other time frame participants show up at the extremes, right? Or below the extremes. Where was this guy showing up?
POC.
POC, right? So it could be just a value seller. He's selling from the POC to the value area low, which he did, right? He sold from here all the way to value area low, some late. So think about who got destroyed, right? At the same time. Oops. There was a lot of pain delivery on this candle here. And why is that?
The stop out. So if like footprint, it will be a lot of zeros on the bottom.
Probably there's a trap here, right? A lot of momentum traders jumped in short when this level broke because they play off of those wicks, right? And they went in short, and then the access, and they closed inside of that candle. Even if you want to play it really professionally, you're long on the break of this candle, and where's your stop loss? Your stop loss is 2-3 ticks below the low, and that's it. You should take this trade. If you see this setup, you should take it 11 out of 10 times. Take it even when it's not there. When you think it's there, take that setup. It's most likely going to work in your favor. But now pay attention to what's building on this candle here. You went inside the spike, and now if they close this candle, let's say below this 67, ideally, that's good. Or if they close this candle here, let's say they close it here, they have 2 minutes, right? I don't think they will, but if they close that candle, the low is set there. How could you play this? You're above today's value.
It's a short.
Same way.
Same way, it's going to be a two-sided activity till we find out if the tariffs are in or not. So anticipating news, you can drive it, right? You can drive it back to this level here, right? The POC. Or, if you're sizing down, you can drive it back all the way to 49.26. And guess what? You just caught almost 200 points in overnight session. If you take that, I don't think you should trade tomorrow. Okay. So does that make sense? At least why we did that? It's not luck. Was it luck that, it's going to rip? Yeah, sure. There's probably somebody here, maybe they know something or not. Maybe these guys, right? The momentum traders that trade structures and naked trading, right? What did they see? That was the low. They broke in the lower low. They tried to make higher highs. They failed. They came in again. He sold off there. We don't look at POC. He sold off from this lower low. And then trapped the shorts here, tried to make lower low. instead, they changed the character here, right? This was the character change right here. But they changed the character here, and basically this is now we want to build value here. They're going to try to create value somewhere in this zone now. Is that bullish or bearish for overnight?
That's bullish.
Okay, I'll tell them why.
Yeah, because we're above POC and Federal high, and we're
And
rejecting the bottom part.
yeah, and we reject. That would be a rejection of the bottom part, right? And that would be bullish necessarily for tomorrow night, tomorrow open. But just telling you, if you're trading wild, this is probably the level. Okay, so for tomorrow, is everybody clear on the setups? Like on this level?
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so now let's just briefly touch where we are in terms.
Shorty, you're cutting off a little bit.
I'm sorry. All right. POC. So there's a major LVN right here that we got, right? So if you guys go here, I think it was this profile, 1 point. Trying to find the years. If you guys look here, this would be the 3-year POC, right? And I don't know how, but 3-year SIG 1 is on. 3504 being the SIG 1 off the 3 years. And now if you guys look, there is an LVN right here, and I would anticipate eventually for that to be tested. Right here, you have, I would say, you have the 24 value area low, which we tested here. We bounced off of that high volume node. Okay. If we're to lose this high volume node, guys, there's something, that's probably going to come up in the news as you guys are trading right around here. So if they lose this level and you see that there's something coming in, the buying is stepping in, be careful on this area right here. They could send it back to here. Then from that level, kind of go 4418. I think that would be the next level. And then below that, you would have that 4147. And I think most of you guys are familiar with this level. Do you guys recall this level at all? Oh, come on, Ashley. Somebody's got to
I
remember.
remember
That
being
was
long.
the level that took off from there.
The retest for the takeoff. Yeah.
Yeah, remember? I mean, we were talking about this level, I think, since here, I don't know where it
Back in
was. Like,
October or
I mean,
something.
yeah, it was a while back, right? This is a big, big level, right? So if they lose this SIG, the odds are increasing heavily that if you lose this and you quickly don't reclaim it, and I said quickly for a reason. Why do I say that quickly? Once you dip here, if you don't reclaim it quickly, why not? Why is that speed important, the time?
Because we didn't spend a lot of time there in the first place.
Yeah, but if we drag and slowly drag it back up and reclaim it, is that as bullish as, oh, you dropped?
Buyers to step in.
No, you don't want to start building
Shows
value there.
confidence.
You want the panic buyers.
Yeah, you want the buyers to find value that are like, man, I have my bid, at that, let's say 48.64 so much that when those market sellers come in, they basically remember that, the balloon example, these guys are selling, right? It's pretty big here. They're selling. And then on the bottom, if the bid is so big, right? What's going to happen to this balloon is just like, it's going to get absorbed. It's going to go basically, boop. Now we're going higher. It's a shitty explanation, but some people see it better visually. So all of their market sells will be absorbed by the bid, the passive hoop.
Passive buyer.
Passive
Passive
buyers.
buyers.
Remember, passive buyers sit on the bid. Where do passive sellers sit?
On the
Passive.
ask.
Where are the aggressive sellers?
Bid.
Bid. Okay. So if you have footprints today, when we shorted, I'd like for you to take a 5-minute candles and tell me how was the bid right before we dropped on the left side. Take a look at it and post it for others, and you'll see it should give you some clues when you're looking at that stuff, right? It was pretty inflated. Okay, so I would play these, on the major side, major levels. I would consider these. You can definitely, delete all of this and start from your. This is more of an art. I can delete this, right? And I can say if I start from scratch, I know that this was, prior all-time high right here. And if we are able to kind of come back for retest, this should be the level where you find some participants, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's one assumption. And if you lose that level, well, then it's a whole different story. And one way for me, this is a quick tutorial, for me to find out between this low and this high, where the buyers were concentrated, how would I do that?
Draw the volume profile of that.
Yep. And I would just make sure I grab this one and I grab this one and don't extend it, because you're only interested to see how is this run up right here. And now pay attention, right? It started here, the POC where the accumulation really happened. The highest amount of transactions happened at 45.64. And if from here you exploded higher, what was this level used for? What was the accumulation for?
To push
For the
high.
support.
That means that there was a lot of buyers, and there was a lot of buyers here. On this run up, this is where they were at it, right? And then funny enough, when you guys just, I know this is way back, but it still makes sense because it's applicable every day. And look where they bounce. From the class on Sunday, do we have the same scenario in the class?
Yep.
Okay, somebody that's new, what does this mean right here? I want to call you guys out, but I won't.
Value
don't
is
know.
getting accepted.
And you're not new.
Dang, I thought that was a new person. I was like, whoa. They know.
Wasn't new. I know the voices, guys. Does anyone remember like this slide? Somewhere around here, this is our value, and it comes back, bounces, right? It's giving you the acceptance. Looks good, right? They bounced here and they did exactly as they should, right? And you could probably find out, fibs wise where and why it rejected. But now you see where we are, right? We are at 71. Let's say for the weekly candle here, I don't know if I think we're below it maybe now. But we tried to stay out of this, right? And they defended it off this second highest volume node for that run up, correct? This was our first. This is our second. So now if they fail here, what do you think most likely happens?
45.64.
I would say there's very high chance you're going to trade there. Probably will find some traders and buyers here, and for the same reason that it was a double top, as my friend Jake would say. Got to short it. They shorted it. Next time they got destroyed. So now they're most likely going to be kind of coming in this zone and trying to dance, right? Keep in mind this that when we ran through this, right? This was a really, really bullish candle here, right? Full body candle on the weekly. You can even check volume to make sure how it was. pretty good volume, right? I mean, I don't think this is necessarily bad volume at all. It's that candle there, right? So pretty good volume, checks out. But then if you look to the left, how would this look like if I draw a volume profile here? Will this LVN stay here?
No, it's probably in
It's
the
all a
middle.
high volume node.
Maybe it won't. Trick question. You don't know if there was a lot of volume. They spent a lot of time here. I was just trying to illustrate the difference between TPO and TPO and volume profile. In this case, the only thing that you do know here is they spent a lot of time. Till you draw an FVP from here till here, how would you know if it's going to be a LVN or HVN?
You
So
don't.
if I do this, and now I draw this, right? Is it an LVN still? Tiny bit right here. But other than that, it looks pretty filled up, right? So you're right. There was a lot of volume, right? And now I still think, if they lose this, because it's in terms of participation here, right? It was a lot of short-term traders trading. Remember, in two-sided activity, they like it. They'll take that all day, every day. They were probably trading here, like boom, top, exchanging a lot. Remember, these are weekly candles, so if I go on daily, that's a very long period of time. Does that make sense? Are you guys following?
Yep.
So if they exchanged a lot of volume, that's a lot of short-term traders in here. So for us, if we crack this area, treat it as a value, what are the odds we go to the bottom of that? Are they higher with this narrower value or lower probabilities with narrower?
Higher.
They're going to be much higher, guys. Just like when we talk about the participation here, it was really two-sided, right? Somebody was emptying out inventory, somebody was buying, selling, and eventually they're going to bite, the wrong side. They're going to have a loss. Then ultimately they sold off, right? And then here they just flew through it, right? So it didn't take them a long time, to kind of navigate the top here. I don't expect that to take maybe less than a week or a week, considering the market that we're in now could be a day. Today can't read it. It looks like our IB today was 139 points. That is pretty insane, right? I mean, it's pretty wide, right? So in terms of reaching these levels, this can happen in a day or less. Okay. So I just want to make sure you guys are following this, right? And then you see now, if I was to do the same from here to the top right here, is something's going to be different, right? There's a lot more structure, a lot more participation coming in than it was here. That makes sense. There's a lot more volume here than it is here. Do you guys agree? The nodes are much
Yeah.
healthier looking, right? And then if I extend this guy, you guys will see that I feel so bad. I feel so bad for people that bought here. I really do. Somebody thought, 2 months back that 6,060 was the fairest price in the stock market. You really think that happens immediately at all-time highs? I mean, stay that way. Do you guys remember when he talked about the 6,000 level, and I said the news are going to be brewing all about it? This was a while back.
I remember you saying at 5,000 that they're going to bring it up to 6,000 and everything's going to be like rainbows and unicorns and then they're going to bring it down.
There was the rainbows and unicorns up here. Everything was peachy, man. The Trump was winning, right? Things were looking great. And then we got the tariffs, maybe no tariffs. Then we got the tariffs. I'm coming to a point. Then we got no tariffs. Then maybe we're going to pause the tariffs. And today, what happens? You probably said the word tariffs and terrified everybody, and we're back on to the ride. But now, the key of your feelings are here. they know how to condition you here. They know how to condition you here. What do you guys think they're conditioning you for? Or maybe, maybe it's lower. I think, our, real buying is going to happen somewhere around here. But why are they conditioning you not to buy your favorite stocks here? And how?
So
How
they
are
can
they
buy
doing
it.
Because then
Well,
you'd make money.
Well, one is that they can buy it, but the problem is, I told you guys the other day, they sent me a message that they would like to give me an interest for loaning out my shares. Right? There could be a couple of reasons that they need to loan the shares. Either, the brokers, the dealers are running low, the shortage, right? If somebody's called for margin, what does that guy on margin have to do? But there's not enough outstanding shares.
He has to go out and buy it.
Yeah, he has to buy it.
But there's nowhere to buy. So if I know, let's say, I don't know what stock they asked me for. If I know that a stock like AMC is heavily shorted, and let's say I have 2 million shares of AMC, and the broker is like, hey, Shorty, I'm going to give you 2% on your total value of AMC shares this month if you let me borrow them and you can't sell them for this period. Would it be wise from me, if the short interest is over 100%, to loan them that stock?
No, you're preventing the squeeze.
No.
Yeah. As long as I don't give it to them, eventually they're going to have to start increasing that payment, or somebody's going to really get in trouble financially. So if somebody's really on a margin call, right, they need the shares. And the only way for them to create shares is how? There's two ways, is either to borrow, or what's the second option?
Cause panic.
Cause
Get people
panic.
to sell.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, come on, Ashley, you don't need that house, right? That house. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen funny commercials where a guy he talks about property taxes and he's like, I really hate him. He's like, yeah, there's only one way to lower the property taxes in this area. He takes out 2 AK-47 and starts shooting in the air in the middle of the night. He's like, this is one way. It's like, my taxes have been super low ever since I've done this, because nobody buys the houses there, right? So nobody wants to live. The property, the values don't go up. There's not a lot of demand. If there's not a lot of demand, the value won't go up. The price won't go up, right? Why would price go up if there's no demand? Can you sell a product if there's no demand? Ashley, can you
No.
sell a house
No.
if there's no demand?
No, definitely.
Okay. Okay. So if let's say if you're selling a house for $1 million and nobody calls you, what would you do, Ashley? Nobody calls you for 6 months. And I'm your client.
Oh, you gotta reduce the price so you can find the buyer.
So I have to reduce the price, right? The more we reduce the price, maybe Ashley or somebody else will panic and sell me a similar home for cheaper. And it's the same here, guys. Am I upside down, for instance, on about UPS? Yeah. But can this last for a very long period of time in a country like ours? Maybe, maybe not, right? I'm not saying that history can't twist, but a lot of times US overcame this just because of their buying power, their GDP, and impact on the whole global economy, right? So don't let the fears, and I'm not saying this is the bottom by no means, but I'm just explaining to you, sometimes you find the company that you like, for instance, and you believe, it's valuable to you, and take a look. For instance, I believe, that this was a pretty good stock for me. And based on the research that I've done, look where it's at. So where it's at, for instance, right now, I grabbed it from here. We're talking about how many days? 4,571 days. What is that? 13 years? 14 years. And this is where we are. Does everybody understand where we are?
In the middle.
POC.
A value.
We're just at a 14-year bearish price on Nike, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's okay if they, they can tell me that. I don't care what they say, right? There's always a way around stuff, right? If you think about, the regulations, this was actually from one of my professors way back. He said the regulations work this way, right? It's kind of, you're given a kind of constraints on the balloon. When you actually put let's say, some legal or regulations around it, what they're going to do is they're going to keep the same size, but they're going to find another loophole to get out of that. So it's just going to look like this, a little squeeze here, a tunnel, but basically the same size of the balloon's going to stay. They're just going to squeeze it and find another way. And that's exactly what, even tariffs. Sure. What's another way to overcome tariffs? I mean, Trump gave them how? What's another way?
Bring production to the
Manufacturing
US.
US. Yeah.
That's one. I don't think that's his ultimate goal.
Move manufacturing to the States.
Raise prices.
Yeah, you could do that. What about if Trump maybe just wants to lower the tariffs on the goods that we buy? Because what would that do to Americans' inflation?
Reduce it.
So if we get lower prices from all the countries that we were threatening left and right, and they lower their tariffs, that means the American product, irrelevant of the trade deficit on the amount, but the importing goods would be cheaper. So even if we produce less, but we have heavy pricing, we might be on a trade surplus as well. But in this case, if they lower the prices, what would Trump and the administration look for next?
Lower interest rate.
Yeah, they want interest rate cuts, right? They would lobby Jay Powell and all the feds and be like, hey, look, our inflation's down. We need to cut the rates. And then, of course, Jay Powell and these guys be like, oh, yeah, why not? So we don't have to pay the $1 trillion in interest on our, debt. Right now, that's the payment that we have, $1 trillion on the debt that we have. I think it's $37 trillion right now. So it makes sense to do that, right? So I think, and that's, I think that's the game that they're trying to play. Few countries are biting, right? China is in a really, really bad position, if you ask me, but it's gonna take a lot of painful, I would say, too many lives impacted because of this, because of the game that they're playing, the trade wars, personally. Because if U.S. is not buying goods from China, and China is obviously known as a manufacturer of the world, right? What do you think happens to all those employees that they don't have a demand for anything to be made?
They're gonna get fired.
They're going to get fired, unfortunately, right? When they get fired, that's when China can enter a really bad panic. And they haven't felt it yet, and there won't be enough money that they can print to save it.
Unless they go to war.
Unless they, and that's probably also on the table, but I just hate the bad news of that.
Over
Unfortunately, that's on the table.
2026.
Yeah, it would probably be the third one, right? So I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm not a big fan of bullying, or I'm not saying it sometimes it's not fair, but I think diplomatically this is much easier done sometimes than through bullying. But if diplomatic doesn't work, then sometimes you got to take measures more direct and aggressive, right? Some countries were maybe thinking that America was kidding about tariffs. Well, I guess Trump showed him that he was not kidding about it. He was definitely serious. So tonight at midnight, we're going to find out if there was any changes on Chinese tariffs that kick in tonight. Remember, Trump added, I believe, don't quote me, 34, I think 34, it can be 43, maybe 34 or 43, because I can flip the numbers.
It's 50.
50?
It totals 104%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 104 since like this term, like since he got in.
Well, not total tariffs 104%.
Okay. Okay. Well,
And
that'll be
China
quite a bit.
retaliated with 34.
Oh, okay. That's where 34 came from.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting, right? And I think they go in effect tonight unless something happens and China negotiates or steps back, right? But I did see that China stopped all raw material exports anywhere in the world. And why do you think China would respond anywhere in the world? I just want to see what you guys think. Why not just US?
They want the other countries to gang up and on the US.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want other countries to say no to US. Yeah. Okay. Well, glad we're all on the same page. And I would watch out for that spike tomorrow, guys. It's going to play. And then I would say the 3-day value area low is going to be fairly important, right? You guys want to be kind of aware of it. Where is it, right? And trade from there. Sure, I'm on 30 minutes here. Oh, they're already there now, huh? So here it goes. I would just pay attention to see how do we behave on this, which was 50.87. Seems like they're right there right now. And that value area low shifted, or we maybe looked at it on 65 minutes. Definitely shifted this period. Was it not here, guys? Was it not here earlier? We marked the zone with the same concept here, if you guys remember. But maybe not. Pretty sure it was there. So now
I
it's
think you
51.
only marked the 3-day POC. I don't think you did the 3-day value area low, to be honest.
This one?
I don't remember. Okay, maybe I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah. Shifted. Check, but if that happened, right? So they're exploring lower, right? And the value shifted a little bit lower. But I don't know. My 3-day value area high is stuck up now. I'm kind of worried about myself. That would take this off 280. If they can reclaim this 5 on 110, that's going to be a pretty big level. They reclaim the spike base, guys. Let them go higher and leave that long. Let it run. Maybe they give good news, bad news. Maybe you put a trailing, but it doesn't look like they're trying to find much buying here, guys. Your access right now. They need some new blood, and I don't see why they won't go here. Makes sense why they wouldn't. All right, guys. Any questions for tomorrow, for the week? I went over the long-term levels and the short-term. I would say if you're not familiar, zoom out as much as you can. Go on quarterly PVP and let that guide you.
Shorty, you were gonna explain the 80% rule.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
I would be 15 spot. So you can do SVP, right? SVP or PVP. SVP or PVP would do it, but I would say stick with SVP for the daily profiles, right? Here you will have every day, right? It's gonna build that value for you. So if you look now, I'm just gonna days. Like for this day, for instance, I'm asking because where's the value for this day here? Tell me, how would you know this?
The blue is the value area high, yellow is value area low, red is POC.
That's correct, right? So then I know that this is the value right here, right? For this day. And then the following day, the value shifted, right? So it's making highs and lower lows on value. And this is the value here for the day prior to today, and that's the one we care for. Care for the day prior. Could you look at this differently, anyone? I know we only looked at this as a PD value area high, 80% here. Is there another way we could have looked at it? Like another view or another piece of information the market gave you? But I
It
have
was
not made it.
definitely a down frame from the previous day.
But it could be a 2-day balance, right?
Yeah.
So if it was a 2-day balance, then my value area high was here, and my value area low was also here. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So on 2 days, that was also 80%. They went above, and they went all the way to the bottom at 500. And by accident, we played the SPY puts here for 500, if you guys recall, and those went pretty nice, guys. So they went all the way to the bottom, right? So that would have been 80% on 2 days. But when people say PD value area high and prior day 80% rule is in effect, simply means this, right? You went prior, ideally you want to open above the value. You want this value to be unexplored, right? You don't want them to open inside of it and then go a bit dip below. That's not a cleanest 80% rule. So if this is my value right here, and this one seems to be, is this pretty wide or narrow?
It's wide.
This is pretty wide. I mean, I was asking because it's deceiving, because I mean, this is about, $13, guys, on SPY. That's pretty wide, right? But now you look at it, right? So you went above the value, you definitely opened above it, right? So you opened above it here, you went a little bit higher, and then the 80% rule starts here. Once you encroach inside the value here below, right, and you basically spend, we say 3 15-minute candles below it, and you did, there's a high chance, which is 80% chance, that if you encroach this PD value area high and you spend value time behind it, not like you get in and out, the opportunity here is not to the downside, is that they're defending the price for upside. And they did do that, right? If they do that, then it's 80% chance that you go from the value area high to the value area low. And POC is always, the one, I would say, in the middle, right? So you had the POC somewhere around here for profit, and then you crack that, and this really speeds up, and it did here. So the 80% is just failure to hold value area high or previous day. If you fail, you're going to go to the value area low. And same is true if we did the upside, right? So tomorrow, for instance, you open here and you reclaim this. Ideally, you would want to find a 3-day value area low. You reclaim it, there's a high chance you would execute something like this, which would be 80% from the bottom to the top. Does that make sense? Did I confuse you?
No, it makes sense. Thanks, Shorty.
All right. It's also in the volume profile PowerPoint, and there's a couple of examples there as well, documented with notes. All right, guys.
Okay,
Well,
I'll definitely check it out.
Question,
Thanks, Shorty.
Yep.
You mentioned that your friend was called over to the desk at 6 p.m. So could you comment on that? Are they preparing for a liquidation event, circuit breakers, or just they were just called in?
He was told that there's risk in Asia and that they have to be prepared. I'm not going to tell you which country in Asia, but
So we need to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're preparing for an event in case it becomes a limit down overnight.
What, Japan? I guess
it would be triggered by one of the countries, right? And we're also open.
Okay,
So it could
we'll
be,
keep an eye out.
the buyers have to be present here if they want to protect it, because it could plummet. This is not a bad short and not a bad level to close the long here, guys. Let me do that. Sorry, I'm going to take this off here.
Thanks, Shorty.
This has a high chance to reverse now.
Okay.
That's why.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See ya. I'll keep you
Enjoy your
posted.
vacation.
I will do my best, man. It's not a vacation when you have 3 ninjas running at the beach with 80 degrees, man.
Well, you
Sounds
can
like
work on the fourth one.
Have
Thank God I
fun.
won't. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Shorty. Bye.
Thanks, Shorty.